those whose interests you have committed to their charge. Amen.
Communication from the chair.
Honorable members, I welcome you to this sitting. Welcome you to the new week, and thank God that we are here ready to transact business on behalf of the people of this country. Let's go straight to business, and the business will start by the urgent matters that honorable members would like to raise. Can I start from Makinde Sabagawu? Procedure.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. The procedural issue I am raising relates to our two colleagues, the Honorable Alan Sewanyana and Honorable Segirinya. Mr. Speaker, as you are aware, they were granted bail, rearrested violently. The procedural issue I am raising, when I came here, Mr. Speaker, I was given the Constitution, and I took an oath to defend the Constitution. These two colleagues have been denied bail because the head of state has been threatening everybody that he wants them to be in prison. Yet they were granted bail under the Constitution because they are presumed to be innocent. Mr. Speaker, the procedural issue I am raising in more specific terms, if the Constitution has been overthrown and the judiciary is going to be intimidated to work on the orders of the head of state, and he doesn't know, tomorrow you're going to be a victim. I was in the same prison cell with Jim Mwezi, Honorable. You will be there yourself. So therefore, the procedural issue I am raising, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order. I keep saying this. Point of procedure takes precedence only when they are raised at the same time. Order and procedure at the same time, procedure takes precedence. It doesn't mean that when you rise on call to order. Order.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Members of Parliament, I give colleagues due respect, and I expect the same from my colleagues. Honorable Semuju Nganda has made it a habit. I don't know whether my name is sweet or whether he's being paid for mentioning me. Whatever he's debating upon.
You rose on a point of order.
Yes. This is a preamble, Right Honorable. Whether it's relevant or irrelevant, he has to bring my name. Is he in order to be in the habit of referring to me when it is not necessary? I never do the same. I have all grounds to talk about him. I can't, because I know he's a member of Parliament representing the people of that
But
Tira.
Honorable Minister, what has he said this time?
He has said nothing.
So,
So he has, yes, he has said
and you expect me to rule him out of order for saying nothing?
my name. He has mentioned my name when there is no point. And my name is very important. I've worked very hard for it. It should be used only when there is important substance. So please, is he in order, Right Honorable? Whenever he has nothing to say, to mention my name, is he in order?
The Honorable Member, and the Honorable Minister said, the person who was putting to order said nothing. Now how do I rule him out of order?
Right Honorable. The point
He mentioned your name.
No. I don't mind my name being mentioned when there is a point. But when he's saying nothing, he shouldn't involve my name.
Honorable Sir, would you please say something? Don't say nothing.
Mr. Speaker, history is like that. There will be an episode that you don't like. I was in the Maxon Bay in Ruzira, B2. I was arrested for walking. And when I arrived, the list remains. By the way, they keep records, those Ruzira fellows. They showed me where Professor Gilbert Bukenya used to sleep. They showed me where Captain Mike Mukura used to sleep. They also showed me where Honorable Jim Wes Katugugu used to sleep. That is the history of B2 in Ruzira, and they remember details of each and everybody. If you want me to say something, they say when people are released, they leave their belongings for others, but for you went and picked back a 2-inch mattress. That they said. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, before I was interrupted, the procedural issue I am raising relates to our respect to the Constitution. And because I was given the Constitution the day I arrived here as MP for the 11th Parliament, and I took an oath to protect the Constitution. The judiciary now works under intimidation that if you release people, you are in trouble, and that threat has been issued publicly. Mr. Speaker, that being one of the oaths that I took on the day I became a member of this Parliament, the procedural issue I'm raising, needing your guidance as the head of this institution, what do we do after finding ourselves in those circumstances?
Thank you. Thank you. Honorable, there's nothing like that in the rules. Honorable members, I used to practice law. I remember I did a case in Jinja before then Justice Muchibi. I applied for bail 3 times and was denied 3 times. The last application that I made, the judge started marking my affidavits for grammar. And I asked him, sir, are we now in an English grammar class, or are we still a court? He laughed and he said, anyway, bail is denied. I did another one, several of them, I'll just give you 2. I did another one for a police officer I was defending before Justice Katutsi in the High Court here. And in the presence of other lawyers, he told me, Mr. Olanya, I have not actually been addressed on a bail application to that extent. The angle you have taken today is very impressive. But bail is denied. And he laughed. And all of us laughed because it was shocking the way the events were at hand. It is constitutional to grant bail. It is also constitutional to deny bail. Let's not politicize this matter sometimes, please. Let's accord respect to the institutions that function within the Constitution independently. That's what the Constitution instructs. And let us play our bit as well, without imposing undue pressure on other agents of government. We try our best behind the scenes to see that things are happening, but when we make it public like this, what message do we send to the rest of the country about our respect or disrespect thereof of some institutions of government? I think it might be good for us to try and always keep within these things. So thank you. Makindya? No, let me deal with substantive matters, not procedural matters for now. First, wait. Let me first deal with these matters. You want to answer?
Thank you. For record purposes, I'm Honorable David Serukenya, Machindi Sabagabo Municipality. I raise on urgent matter of national importance. Honorable Speaker, it was 4 a.m. this morning when the fire broke out at one of the places in Machinde Sabagabo, that is Chogam, and it left 20 people homeless. They have nothing to eat. They are just outside there. So my prayer is the Office of the Prime Minister to respond immediately and come to rescue of these people with items like temporary structures, beddings, something to eat, and clothing. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Government Chief Whip.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, this matter was brought to our attention today in our top management meeting, and as I talk, a team was being sent on the ground to do assessment to look at what kind of support we can give to the people. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much. Dakabela.
Yeah, thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. And colleagues, I rise on a matter of urgent national importance. As we are all aware, I think over the last 1.5 years, we've been going through a very difficult situation with COVID globally, of course, very concerning nationally. But I want to draw the attention of this House, Right Honorable Speaker, to the situation in Soroti in particular. We have had quite an increase in number of cases. You may have heard it over social media, but the reality on the ground is, I think Soroti deserves special. Mothers, women are highly affected. Over the last 24 hours, I got a report from the district authorities where they say that we recorded from those who came to the hospital about 24 cases. But I've also had reports from what the village health teams, who are doing a very good job on very spontaneous cases in the villages. Right Honorable Speaker, I therefore rise to raise up this issue and seek for a special attention be considered to the situation in Soroti, particularly in support to the support teams and the health teams. Otherwise, I think if this situation is left unattended, that particular area may become a epicenter for further increase of the COVID cases. Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Yes. Government Chief Whip.
Right Honorable Speaker, it is true we've received reports as government that COVID cases are on a rise in Teso and Lango sub-regions. and we are working with the teams on ground to look at the support we can give them to move in quickly. But the Minister of Health will be here on Thursday to update Parliament on the vaccination exercise, and she will comprehensively answer this issue on Thursday, Right Honourable, and I request Honourable you be there. But in the meantime, I'm going to relay the information to her so that more support is given to the team in Soroti. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nakaseke Central.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. I'm Alan Mayanja Segunya, representing people of Nakaseke Central. I rise on an urgent matter regarding the people of Wachat Sub-County in Kalagala Parish, in my constituency, Nakaseke Central County, who suffered from destructive rainstorm on 23rd October 2021. Right Honorable Speaker, Kalagala Parish was affected. Hectares of crops were ravaged, livestock and poultry died, banana plantations and 2 houses put down. This was an insult added to an injury, because this particular area has been grappling with land grabbing, livestock quarantine, characterized by a slow economic activity. A number of farmers had acquired agricultural loans from banks. The little they had is also gone, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I pray that the Office of the Prime Minister intervenes to assess the situation and accordingly come to rescue of my constituency with food, seeds, and any other remedies that they may need necessary for their assessment. The magnitude of destruction experienced is worrying and is likely to trigger food shortage and effective livelihood. I beg to submit, Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you very much. Yes, Honourable.
Right Honourable Speaker, the Office of the Prime Minister is going to link up with the District Disaster Management Committee in Nakaseke and ensure that indeed this is handled adequately. And Right Honourable Speaker, we have been sending food of late to most of the constituencies. Those ones which have not yet received, food is on the way. We are trying to ensure that we handle these disasters as soon as we can. Thank you.
Marara North.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I rise on an urgent matter of national importance. Like my colleague from Makindye, yesterday, Mbara City, traders in our city got a tragedy by their equipment, property being destroyed by fire. Right Honourable Speaker, the fire started at around 2 a.m. Unfortunately, we didn't have firefighting machine. The only one which we had or we have is down. We only had to get one machine from Bushenyi. Property worth billions was destroyed. Some of the traders had loans. They have petitioned us as area MPs. Others who are small-scale traders, it is their only life. The numbers are almost 100 people affected. Lessons, Mr. Speaker. If it happens in Makindye, in Bara City, some of us as entrepreneurs would want to recommend, maybe in the future, if you allow, Mr. Speaker, I would propose a motion here, instead of crying to government with equipment, with machinery, like other communities, especially the US, you find each county has voluntary fire brigade paid for by the neighborhood families. If you allow, at a later stage, Mr. Speaker, sir, instead of us losing our property, we should have an enabling law. Like, if you recall, the General Katumba, when he was IGP, he started this process through industrial area by business people buying their own mobile police trucks, which indeed helped them so much. However, because there was no enabling law, contradictions came up. You find a big person, an industrialist, who buys a truck pickup, tomorrow is involved in a case, it becomes difficult for him to be arrested. My prayer, Mr. Speaker, one, the Prime Minister's office to intervene and give relief, if possible, in terms of shelter, in terms of cash, if possible. Second, the issue of taxes. My prayer is the Minister of Finance to see how they can, if possible, give a waiver through URA so that these business people can be comfortable in this tragedy. I beg to move, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, Honorable.
Right, Honorable Speaker, this is one of the issues which we also discussed in today's top management. The devastation was very much. The only positive we got from that side was the building was insured, at least for the affected traders. Some of them will be compensated. But a team led by Minister of State for Disaster Preparedness, Honorable Esther Nyakun, is leaving from Barra tomorrow to make an assessment and see which kind of support we can give to the traders. I thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much. Procedure.
Right Honorable Speaker, the procedural matter I have is about one of our colleagues, the Honorable Sagirinya. This morning, he has been moved from Maction Bay prisons to Mulago. And according to prisons, they are saying he's receiving some treatment called massage in Mulago. And he has been handcuffed in Mulago on the beds, one of the beds. And this is, I think, really unfair for a member of parliament to be treated in that kind of manner, yet is really entitled to be treated by this house. I think as parliament, we are not proceeding correctly when one of us is really suffering and rotting from Mulago in the hands of prisons. I think through your guidance, Right Honorable Speaker, we can get away how to help our member. Right now is in Mulago, rotting from there and receiving no treatment, yet it requires specialized treatment. I'm talking about this because it has happened to me before and I know what it means. I beg to submit, Right Honorable Speaker, but that's my procedure matter.
You see, honorable members, procedural matters are about procedures in the House. Anything outside this place and not relating to a matter going on in this House cannot be a procedural matter for the House or for a decision of the Speaker. Those become administrative issues, in which case we just come to the Speaker and we talk about it and say, what can we do, what can we do? It cannot be a procedural matter. Next item on the order paper.
Statement.
I am saying, with great respect to you, Honorable Zake, that is not a procedural matter. It is an administrative issue which you come to the Speaker and we find a solution on how to handle it. What do you expect me to rule on the matter? Is it a procedural matter? It has been brought to my attention. I'm saying we handle it now administratively as Parliament. Please, let's proceed.
Statement by Minister on the improvement of traffic control in Kampala City.
Honorable Minister.
improvement of traffic control in Kampala City, presented today. Right Honorable Speaker and the Honorable colleagues. The Right Honorable Prime Minister presented a business for the week that required a response from the Minister of Kampala Capital City and Metropolitan Affairs on the improvement of traffic control in the Kampala City. And I wish to submit as follows. Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable colleagues, Kampala Capital City and the Greater Kampala Metropolitan areas, which extends to Wakiso, PG, Mukono, Entebbe, among other areas, covers an area of 1,000 square kilometers and is the commercial and industrial center for Uganda, contributing over 70% of the national industrial production and 60% of GDP of Uganda, as per the statements from National Development Plan 3. Previous studies and plans, including the Urban Traffic Improvement Plan, KUTIP 2013, the National Transport Master Plan 2008 to 2023, which includes the Master Plan for the Greater Kampala Metropolitan Area, have shown that traffic congestion is a big problem in the city. Right Honorable Speaker, the Greater Kampala Metropolitan Area is rapidly growing and is characterized by the following. A population annual growth rate estimated at 4.1%, with a daytime population of approximately 3.5 million, of which 70% use public transport and mainly road transport. Honorable colleagues and Speaker, the above has resulted into an explosive growth in vehicular population, that is borders and motor vehicles. It is also characterized by a transport system that consists of mainly heavy goods vehicles, taxis, motorcycles, private vehicles, bicycles, minibuses, buses, and non-motorized black walking. Taxis, or matatu, as commonly known, account for 21% of the number of vehicles in Kampala, transporting about 82.6% of Speaker. The private vehicles contribute to 36.6% of the vehicles population in Kampala, transporting about 8.8% of the passengers, while 42.4% are motorcycles, commonly known as borders, and only transports 8.5% of the passengers in the city. The city, or the Greater Kampala Metropolitan Area, is also characterized by poor transport infrastructure. Kampala City alone has a of the road network. However, only 642 kilometers are paved, while 1,460 kilometers are still unpaved. Right Honorable Speaker, in terms of vehicle capacity, Kampala's roads network was constructed for less than 100,000 vehicles in the 60s, and yet today, over 400 vehicles use the same roads. 400,000 roads use the same roads. Right Honorable Speaker, the roads in Kampala and the Greater Kampala Metropolitan Area, Game A, are narrow, and this is worsened by the fact that they do not segregate traffic. Largely, there are no specific lanes for specific vehicles. Right Honorable Speaker, the public transport by taxi matatu originates mainly from the taxi parks. In addition, the unregulated movement of heavy goods vehicles motorcycles or boda and tukutukus in the Greater Kampala metropolitan area has also added an insult to the injury. Honorable Speaker, the city also is characterized by poor facilities for non-motorized transport, walking and bicycling. Largely, we don't have walkways or cycling lane. Bad road usage is very common. Stock behavior by drivers and riders who don't observe traffic rules and keep switching lanes, among other problems. Save for all those insultive words they can give you if you just try to warn them. Right, Honorable Speaker, the characteristics above mentioned are also invariably linked land use partners, employment partners, income levels, car ownership, trends, infrastructure investment, and regional economic dynamics. Right, Honorable Speaker, traffic congestion continues to remain a major public policy issue resulting in massive delays, lost productivity, and economic losses, not to mention insecurity, pollution, and road incidences, which includes accidents that sometimes result into permanent injuries and death. Right, Honorable Speaker, I'll call members to get interested in the pie chart, just pictures, to show you the categorization of our roads, which I've just mentioned. Right, Honorable Speaker and colleagues, traffic congestion has the following effects. Congestion causes high and fluctuating fares in public transport. The most affected persons are the low-income earners, making up more than 40% of the Greater Kampala metropolitan area population. These spend more than 20% of their gross income on transport. Also increases the cost of doing business in the city. The distribution cost of finished products is approximately 10% of production, which is against the best or the maximum best practices of 4%. And this is due to traffic jam and congestion.
Honorable Minister, would you like to summarize this since we have them on the iPad?
Thank you very much for your guidance.
Procedure.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, in governing Uganda, we have the Constitution, and I refer to Chapter 11, Articles 176, 177, 178, and many others. And for decentralization as a basis for the governance of this country. In addition to that, Right Honorable Speaker, this Parliament gave Kampala, and of course even the districts, enabling laws to implement what is provided for under the Constitution. And for this matter, I refer to the KCCA Act. The minister before us, Mr. Speaker, has a full council at KCCA. And the KCCA law was brought back here for amendment. How governance in the capital city should be run. Mr. Speaker, the procedural matter I'm raising now is the minister giving us a report of what they discussed at KCCA, and procedurally, Right Honorable Speaker, are we moving well? when the minister now comes here to tell us stories of lamentation about the running of the capital city, I don't know what he expects us to do. Instead of going to his council at KCCA and getting the approval of council, and maybe out of courtesy, comes back here and tells us, Mr. Speaker, are we procedurally moving on well when we take over matters for local governance and we discuss them here in total contravention of the Constitution of Uganda, the Kampala Capital City Act, and KCCA, and the Local Government Act, Mr. Speaker? Because for us in Mukono, we have a council. We don't expect the minister to come here and take decisions on behalf of the urban authorities of Mukono. Mr. Speaker, my question is, are we moving on well? Do we intend to take over the responsibilities of the KCCA Council that we have just given a new law to clarify on how business should be handled in the capital city? Right, Honorable Speaker, I beg that you guide me.
Locally, you are right. We are not proceeding well. You are very right. We are not proceeding well. Even the housing of the statement itself is not part of what the rules of procedures anticipated. Last week, we received a statement on the tarmacking of the taxi park. I think we can do better. We can do better. But we had to finish this because in the wisdom of the government, it had been somehow put as business for next week. And so in the business for next week, they listed stuff like this. That's what was listed as business for next week. So they have come in this form and shape. Are you ululating? Well, then why don't you do it properly? Except the rules will not allow you to do that. No, honestly, because that's why I said, Honorable Minister, please try and summarize, because if we are to go through this entire statement in this form, it will not help us that much. It will not help us that much. So you fulfill your obligations on the instructions that you are given, give a summary and lay the document on the table, and we see how to proceed. It was initiated by leaders of this House, not the presiding officers, that this statement should come in this form. But I agree with the Honourable Member for Mukono Municipality that would not be proceeding properly in this form. Honourable Minister, would you like to summarize? Procedure.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, the Minister was proceeding on a statement which you yourself you indicated that we are not proceeding well. And when you ask him to come and summarize the same, are we really proceeding well, Right Honourable Speaker?
The rules are not clear on that. So where the rules are not clear, it becomes the prerogative of the Speaker to give guidance. And I've just done that. Please summarize, wind up.
Right Honourable Speaker and the Honourable colleagues, the initiatives which my ministry, in collaboration with other relevant MDs, are doing to improve transport as follows. Gazetting of stages, stop for border borders, taxis and buses. We work with the leadership in taxis to thoroughly develop and implement fixed routes. Gradually introduce a fare collection system, starting with bus transport for the benefit of passengers. Creation and define 5 public transport zones, mainly the neutral zone, the eastern zone, the northern zone, the western zone, and the southern zone. And the central business district area will be a neutral zone where public transport vehicles of particular type from other 4 zones shall meet. Right, Honorable Speaker. In conclusion, Right, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, fully eradicating traffic congestion is neither feasible nor an affordable goal in economically dynamic urban areas like the Greater Kampala metropolitan area. However, much can be done to reduce its occurrence and lessen its impacts on roadway users within the city. As much as there are many possible measures that can be deployed to mitigate congestion, there are no single perfect solution best suited to addressing congestion. A combination of strategies is more effective in managing urban congestion in Kampala. Long-term congestion outcomes can only be delivered through a well-framed process that addresses congestion in all its aspects of the metropolitan area. Right, Honorable Speaker, that day when we left, I had 3 questions to respond. I beg you allow me respond to them, and we finished the 3 papers regarding Kampala. The question of how much revenue from the property tax has gone to road construction in the city, Right, Honorable Speaker,
Honorable
I beg
Minister.
I complete the responses which I left hanging that day.
Is it still the same statement?
The previous statement.
No, please.
Okay, with that, Honorable Speaker, I beg to submit.
I'm really surprised to see the Honorable Seungu standing up, the Honorable Member for Honorable Selwani standing up to debate. No, but how do you seek clarification on something you have said was not proceeding properly? No, but then if it is procedure, you say procedure, then I deal with it. But for now, let's close this matter first of the Honorable Minister. Can I finish with this matter, Honorable Solomon Selwani, please? Honorable Minister, this is good. We'll refer all these matters to the committee responsible for this. They see what they can, how they can use these statements to enrich some of the information they'll be bringing back for this House for some decisions. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Yes. Procedure?
Yes, procedure, Right Honorable. Right Honorable Speaker, I thank you for giving me this opportunity to raise the procedure matter. The procedure matter I want to raise. Right Honorable Speaker, we always come up as a house and we raise questions, we raise issues, like in the case of the minister that has just been presented here about Kampala. Right Honorable Speaker, if I am in the minister's shoes, and Parliament has asked me to come and give a statement.
Parliament did not. Please resume your seat. I gave you the background. Parliament did not. Please.
But
I don't want to go into details of how these statements came, but Parliament did not. Parliament did not. So please, these things are done. Let's leave them that way, please. Next item.
Motion for a resolution of Parliament urging government to sign and ratify the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons.
Honorable Mapinduzi Ojara. Honorable member, please.
Right Honorable Speaker, sir. Allow me to begin by thanking you for giving me the opportunity this afternoon to have this motion. This motion comes under Rule 56 of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament of Uganda, and it's a motion for a resolution of Parliament urging government to sign and ratify the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. Right Honorable Speaker, sir, whereas Article 123(1) of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, 1995, empowers the President or a person authorized by the President to make treaties, conventions, agreements, or other arrangements between Uganda and any other country, or between Uganda and any international organization or body in respect of any matter. And whereas Parliament enacted the Ratification of Treaties Act Cap 204 to provide for the procedure for ratification of treaties in accordance with Article 123 of the Constitution, noting that the Ratification of Treaties Act Cap 204 provides that a treaty can be ratified by either cabinet or parliament, and further stipulates that the instrument of ratification of a treaty shall be signed, sealed, and deposited by the minister responsible for foreign affairs. Recalling that in 2017, the United Nations General Assembly adopted Resolution 71 of 258, directing the United Nations Conference to negotiate a legally binding instrument to prohibit nuclear weapons, leading towards their total elimination. Further, recalling that on 7 July 2017, the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons was adopted by the United Nations General Assembly and entered into force on 22nd January 2021. Noting that the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons is the first legally binding international agreement to comprehensively prohibit nuclear weapons, and has to date been acceded to and ratified by 56 states of the United Nations. Concerned that whereas Uganda actively participated in the negotiations leading to the formulation of the treaty and was among the 122 states that approved the idea to prohibit and eliminate nuclear weapons and voted in favor of the adoption of the treaty by the UN General Assembly, Uganda has not yet signed or ratified the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. Recognizing that the delay by Uganda to sign and ratify the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons diminishes Uganda's standing on the international stage, where Uganda is recognized as a model country in handling matters of international concern and is celebrated as a country that has served the international community with dedication in maintaining international peace and security, as well as standing for the ideals and possessing a sense of mission reflected in the United Nations Charter. Cognition that the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons assures durable world peace, prohibit nuclear arms race between countries, and safeguards mankind by prohibiting state parties from developing, testing, producing, manufacturing, acquiring, possessing, stockpiling, stationing, installing, deploying, transferring, receiving nuclear weapons or any other nuclear explosive. Further, cognition that the first historical meeting of the state parties to the treaty on the prohibition of nuclear weapons is scheduled for 22nd March 2022 in New York, and for Uganda to be represented at that meeting, Uganda ought to have signed, ratified, and deposited the ratification instrument at the United Nations in New York by 22nd of December 2021. Firmly convinced that the signing and ratification of the treaty on the prohibition of nuclear weapons, Right Honorable Speaker, sir, will be a positive step for Uganda, since it will enable Uganda access assistance, including environmental remediation from the state parties that test or use nuclear weapons. Now, therefore, Right Honorable Speaker, sir, be it resolved that Parliament urges government to sign and ratify the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. I beg to move.
Is the motion seconded? Seconded by a member for Jonam County, Tororo County, Honorable Ekanya. The Honorable Member for Tororo District, Molatar District, Buraya County, Muyendera, but this is Boamba, sorry, Boamba, Kabula, Masindi districts. Yes, would you like to speak to your motion? Duly seconded, yes.
Right Honorable Speaker, sir, it is the responsibility of each one of us to make every possible effort to make the world safe and secure. Right Honorable Speaker, nuclear weapons are the most dangerous weapons on the planet Earth. Only one can destroy a whole city, potentially killing millions and jeopardizing the natural environment and lives of future generations through its long-term catastrophic effects. The dangers of such, therefore, arise from the very existence. Right Honorable Speaker, it is important to note that our country has had a bad history. But it is also important to recognize that Uganda has made significant impact in terms of providing, playing its role globally in ensuring world peace. It is therefore, Right Honorable Speaker, my hope that my honorable colleagues will see the need and the importance of supporting this motion so that government can proceed to have the ratification and the signing. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. Second of the motion, the Honorable Ongieto.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to state right off that as a country, we may have our own issues here. But like the mover of the motion stated, Uganda is known globally as one of the countries that promotes global peace. And this motion comes in to enforce that. And as a seconder of the motion, I want to call upon this House to urge government to sign and ratify this treaty. Right Honorable Speaker, we all know, also from the motion, the dangers of nuclear weapons. And colleagues, we are not talking about the items for manufacturing nuclear weapons, but we don't want them to be used as elements of war. But we know for sure that some of the items can be used for good things. But in this motion, we are specifically stating that our government signs and ratifies that we don't want it to become an instrument of war. I want to emphasize, Right Honorable Speaker, that the effects of nuclear weapons are so many and adverse. I want to give also one other example. In Belarus, for example, where they just arrested some of the items at a port, and the items stayed in the port for quite some time, and unfortunately, eventually, it busted and caused an extensive death to people. So that is one example of how dangerous this is. And colleagues, I also want you to know, for instance, one of the cases that the world knows about in Japan at the end of World War II. Do we know that within 1 hour of that bomb blast, do we know that about 76,000 people died? And many more died afterwards? So that is the kind of situation we are saying as a country and as promoters of global peace, we do not want to go that far. And we know that the effects, as I said, are adverse. For instance, we know that people who are exposed to those bad things eventually have even their DNAs disturbed. We have situations where there are organ failures, including the bone marrows, where we have acute radiation sicknesses leading to early death. And there are situations where even the germ cells in us, when we talk about the germ cells, we are talking about the sperms, the ovaries, they are also disorganized, and as a result, that comes out in the children that we produce. And that is part of the long-term effect we are talking about. And we know for sure that some of those effects eventually results into cancer in many people. And in terms of our environment, we know that, for instance, in our sub-Saharan Africa, most of our economies are still dependent on agriculture, and our agriculture that is still mainly dependent on the natural climate and weather. So any disturbance can cause an extensive damage to our economy and to the livelihood of our own people. And overall, that will impact and undermine sustainable development agenda. So I rise to support this motion with whatever I have stated. And Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to move. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, the question that I propose for your debate is that the motion for resolution of Parliament urging government to sign and ratify the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons be adopted by this House. That is the motion for your debate, and the debate starts now. Maracha.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I rise to oppose the motion. I think it's an ambitious motion which is not informed by facts. Uganda is a developing country that is not a threat to any neighbors. The access to electricity in this country is about 20% or 22%. We must invest in research, and nuclear energy is a potential investment area, and that will require Uganda should be able to stockpile some nuclear materials. So to suggest without a socio-economic impact assessment that Uganda should go into ratifying things, I think this matter is a security issue which should have been studied by the security organs properly before we can commit a nation into this kind of treaty. Therefore, I would appeal to honorable members not just to be excited. Nuclear treaties are negotiated to curb ambitions of superpowers. So what do you want to curb in Uganda? What is your motivation for this kind of motion? I think we need numbers, we need proper study into this before we can commit Uganda. I think our leaders have not been silent for nothing. They have been quiet because they are still studying. So in the absence of such a study, honorable members, don't be lured into delving into matters people have not properly understood. Thank you.
Honorable Shabe.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, we, as a country in 2019, were informed by our Minister of Energy that we have very high deposits for uranium. And at that time, the Minister of Energy indicated that they're going to use it for energy power generation. Right Honorable Speaker, around 2020 there came a documentary which most of us must have watched, that North Korea is having a plant, a nuclear plant in Kalangala. And that documentary was running on social media, and many of us could have watched it. Right Honorable Speaker, when such a matter comes on the floor, it's my humble opinion that the minister responsible first responds to some of these questions. One, about whoever is responsible should answer, what are our uranium deposits, how are we going to use them? Two, why have we not signed the protocol? Why has the minister not come before Parliament for ratification? Then, Right Honourable Speaker, it should also respond to such a serious allegation that we have a nuclear plant in Kalangala. And so that we as Parliament, we hear from government, what is their plan? Why are they hesitant to sign a protocol that says we shall never use nuclear power for any purpose? We need to hear from government, Right Honourable Speaker. Then we know what they are up to, why are they not signing, why are they not ratifying, and what are they using the uranium deposits that we have in this country. Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker.
Honourable members, just to redirect, it is the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. It is that clear. It is very clear. So let's not go, whether you're using it for power, it's not about this motion. Please. Yes, if it is for, well, if you're using it for power, it's not in this motion. It is nuclear weapons. Okay, so are we together? So let's proceed that way. Honorable Katshuma.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues. Listening to the motion, I have been wondering the motivation behind this motion and the urgency. Because I know that this treaty has had about 86 countries that have signed. And many other countries have not signed. In the East African community, only Tanzania has signed. I think this motion needs to, the movers of this motion need to go back and engage government and find out what are the reasons for the delay. What is the hurry? Are there provisions, or is this treaty in line with our atomic energy council? I do not want to question the motivation behind this motion, but I think it needs to refer back, and members need to do more research and engage government and find out perhaps why Uganda and many other countries in the East African community have not ratified this. We might be here debating, but we need to hear from government why it has delayed. Otherwise, we are also wondering why are many countries, especially developed countries, seated on the fence on this treaty. They promote it, but when it comes to ratification, they are not signing. Why? So, what is the motivation behind our rush to urge government to sign? I beg to submit.
Thank you very much. Yes?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. For the record, Muzari Martini. That is Muzaya. Right Honorable Speaker, the motion that is before us, ideally, Honorable Minister for Security, before you go, I thought it important that you speak about this motion, because we are talking about something that we don't understand well, and yet we have a minister here for security. Therefore, Right Honorable Speaker, I'm asking the Minister for Security, the General is here, okay, both. They speak about this so that they can guide us well on this motion. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Mulatar.
Right Honorable Speaker, I stand here to support the motion. A nuclear weapon is just a bomb or a missile that uses nuclear energy to cause an explosion and death. As a people's representative, this motion is here to prohibit anything that can explode anytime and kill our people. Right Honorable Speaker, on 22nd January this year, the Treaty on Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons was entered into force as the first instrument of international humanitarian law to mitigate the catastrophic human consequences of using and testing nuclear weapons. Right Honorable Speaker, notably, this treaty requires states to help victims of nuclear testing, using and clearing contaminated areas, that any use of nuclear weapons, regardless of its rationale, is not acceptable world over. Now, the countries that have ratified this treaty stand very strong in terms of the international understanding of the law. As a people's representative, anything that affects the life of my people, I would really urge this House to support the motion that our country becomes the number 55 in the world to ratify this treaty, so that in an event of any explosion or anything in our country stands a better chance of being treated as one of the states that recognizes nuclear weapon as a very catastrophic issue to our humanity. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Bujiri?
Right, Honorable Speaker, I thank you, and I want to thank the mover and the seconder of the motion. And I want to also join members to implore the House actually not to support this motion. Right, Honorable Speaker, as we stand today, we are having so many urgent challenges we are having as a country. For us to come to Parliament and say that we are in urgent need, much as it is good to block nuclear weapons, but for us to bring this debate at this time, as if people are dying of COVID, we have issues of insecurity.
Point of order.
Right, Honorable.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I raise on a point of order following the manner of debate by my honorable brother, Sirwani. Right Honorable Speaker, for any business to be here, it must have passed through your office and the business committee, where some of us even are allowed to sit there because we are chairpersons of committees. A Commissioner Serwani coming here to tell the world that unuseful information found its way to Parliament would be to indict you, Mr. Speaker, because every matter here on the order paper was properly considered by you before it came here. Is Honorable Serwani in order to continue misleading this House that it is headed by a person who cannot know the priorities of this country, and that the Right Honorable Speaker is not properly occupying his office as a gatekeeper and guard against irrelevances? Mr. Speaker, is he in order? And should he continue being a commissioner while failing to honor the office of the Speaker, Right Honorable Speaker?
Honorable Member, it is not in order for a member of Parliament to incite the Speaker against another member. But the matter you raise is solid and correct. By the time this matter has come to this House, you either debate it or you don't. You either know how to debate it or you don't know. And if you don't know, just shut up. Our laws and rules prohibit us from discussion in fear, in anticipation. We discuss these things for the general good of the people of this country. Are they under threat from any use of nuclear weapons anywhere? We have Ugandans in the US, in Tokyo, in China, everywhere, all over the globe, there are Ugandans. Do we face any threats of nuclear weapons? Should we respond like other countries have? That should be the debate. If you have nothing to say, honorable member, don't rise. Would you like to speak properly now?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I was driving my point and Honorable Bachireke was trying to cut it in the middle and give a false impression. What I was saying, and I want honorable members to listen carefully, I was saying that much as it is important for us to talk about prohibition of nuclear weapons, I was asking members, is it something that is very urgent as of today? And this is my debate. Should we, as members of parliament, support this now? Because I'm imploring members of parliament who are for and against the motion, as me, and on behalf of the people of Bukoli Central. I think that this is something that is not very urgent. I think that this parliament and us members of parliament should be looking at issues that are more urgent than issues of nuclear weapons, and then we look at this at a later time. I beg to submit.
Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, my name is Jonathan Ebwalo, Member of Parliament, Soroti City West. I want to join my colleague from Maracha to state that we have the Minister of Security in this country. For us, the civilian members of Parliament, to come here with the unguided excitement that we rush into
Go and read. Say it's not correct. Say to your colleague.
for us, yes, for us to come to this parliament, a matter that should have come from the executive. We have members from the security in this house. We have a minister of security in this house. And then for us, we come here to ask parliament, to ask government to sign this treaty. The other day, Mr. Speaker, I was interacting with the Minister of Security.
Honorable.
Yes.
Were you here when I was making the guidance?
Yes.
Okay, then you might have to sit down. Because you are taking us back. Brian?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I rise to support the motion. Right Honorable Speaker, you need not to be a Minister for Security to understand the dangers of nuclear weapon. Nuclear weapon is synonymous with war, and they don't need to be a soldier to know the effects of war. The mover of the motion and the seconder put it clearly, giving the background of Japan and other countries, how the world has suffered because of nuclear weapons. I really believe, Right Honorable Speaker, that the motion was moved in good faith. And what affects America affects Uganda, as you have guided, because we're in a global village. So for someone to say that let those other big countries do their part and we just look on, it's not true, it's not correct. Because, Right Honorable Speaker, if America is at war with, say, Japan, Uganda will be affected, directly or indirectly. So to say that we should not debate or we should not give it the time it deserves, we should wait anymore. It's not correct, Speaker, because this is an urgent matter that we must treat urgently here. Maybe where I can agree with the colleagues is that the minister should come up and add something, then we move. But for nuclear weapons, it's deadly, it's bad for this world, it's bad for Uganda, it's bad for any other country. And to say that members don't understand it, really it's demeaning members of parliament, because any sensible member of parliament. Let me stop there, Right Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Doctor.
Yeah, thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I know for sure that one of the countries from which we can procure a nuclear weapon is the USA. And looking at the Congressional Budget Office, they are estimating that a single weapon, perhaps the smallest, would cost about 17 billion US dollars. That is money that we don't have. Even when we are to save, it would take us years to get this kind of money. But over and above that, maintaining a nuclear weapon is expensive. Disposing of waste in the event that we do not use it for the period that is supposed to be used is extremely expensive, because they do this in a sea, and Uganda is not surrounded by any sea. Right Honorable Speaker, I'm overwhelmed with this motion. To the same extent, I would sit in a sub-county council and councillors are debating on whether to buy a plane or a helicopter for their LC3 chairperson. I do believe that the countries that are pushing us towards signing this treaty want to be, to build up numbers. Let us look for the incentives behind signing. Let's discuss the incentives, whether they are reducing our debt, and then we sign. Thank you, I beg to submit.
The rural district.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Uganda as a country voted in favor of adopting this particular treaty at the UN conference in 2017, although it has not yet ratified. Mr. Speaker, therefore, the fact that the country, the delegates who represented this country at the conference, voted in favor of this particular treaty is reason enough for us as members of parliament to support this motion. We are supporting this motion and urging government. If government feels otherwise, it will come back to us as parliament and tell us, no, although we supported it, we have now changed. But we don't know the reasons, Right Honorable Speaker. And Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, I just want to appeal to you, members. Currently, we are struggling with bombs everywhere. Tomorrow, you never know, those nuclear weapons may find their way here. This particular motion being moved is a motion that should not go, is not being moved in vain. It is urging government. And when I was looking at the statistics, a number of countries, Right Honorable Speaker, as of March, there were 86. I don't have the latest now, who have ratified. That's not a small number. We all know, Right Honorable Speaker, that nuclear weapons have an adverse effect if they are not controlled. The Nagasaki and Hiroshima issue, where we lost over 200,000 people. I was still a young girl in school, but I remember clearly. That's when we started hearing about the nuclear weapons.
In 1945, you were in school?
No, I read history. When I was in secondary school, that's when I started hearing about this Hiroshima and Nagasaki issue. So, Right Honorable Speaker, the effects of this nuclear weapon can be adverse. This particular motion is well-intentioned, and we all know that the spread of nuclear weapons and weapons technology, the objective really is to promote cooperation in a peaceful way. There can be nuclear weapons, but they must be used in a peaceful way and controlled. And therefore, Right Honorable Speaker, I wanted to move a motion because I don't know, the front bench I was hearing the people pushing the minister. These treaties concern majorly the Minister of Foreign Affairs, who is supposed to be moving. Once a decision has been made at such conferences, the Minister of Foreign Affairs is supposed to bring this to Cabinet, Cabinet approves, and then it comes to the floor. So, Right Honorable Speaker, I want to move that we send this particular motion to the relevant committee so that the committee can interface with the relevant government ministries to understand why, since 2017, they have not yet ratified. And then they can report back to the House, and then we adopt, if we are to adopt. I want to move, Right Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable members, may we understand that not all treaties should come to Parliament to complete the ratification process. We adopted a dualist system of ratification. Treaties that don't affect our constitution is ratified by Cabinet, and it ends there. We receive only for information where necessary. Treaties that seek to alter the foundation of our constitution or in some way suggest an amendment to the constitution, those treaties can only be ratified by Parliament. I think there was a case in point, the Rome Statute, the Treaty of Rome, which created the International Criminal Court. It had some discussions about immunities and privileges of leaders of countries. So when it came, the ratification had to be done by Parliament, and the exception on the issue of immunity had to be created by Parliament in the law. So that is the system that we adopted as a country. But there's a motion that had been proposed by the member for Tororo District that instead of discussing it without sufficient background and interaction, it might be a good idea to refer this matter to a committee responsible for this, to interrogate it further, interact with the people concerned, ask questions, get answers, and come back to this Parliament, and then we proceed to conclude with our discussions on the motion and possible adoption of the motion. And I see the Minister of Security nodding very, very seriously. I suspect he's in support.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I'm in support that we give time to this motion, and referring it to the committee, I think is the right, would be the right decision, so that the relevant government ministries could put in their ideas and we move together. Thank you very much.
Is that the position, honorable members? Yes. If that is the position, I don't need to have a motion adopted to that effect. It's within my powers to do that, and I'll do just that. Honorable members will refer this particular motion to the committee responsible for this sector, Committee on Foreign Affairs, and they will handle it in detail and get back to the House, and we have a final and complete debate on this matter, and we take a decision on the text of the motion they would have proposed. Thank you, matter referred. Next item, procedure. Ratification.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I'm happy this matter has come up. There are so many international meetings that Uganda attends on our behalf, of course. And there are also parliamentary forums where we are members. And in those forums, such agreements, treaties, and resolutions are made. Now, Right Honorable Speaker, I think it is also important for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the relevant ministries to let us know what are the international treaties that Uganda has entered into, which require ratification, which require domestication. So we need to know all that. So Right Honorable Speaker, now that this has come up, can we also be informed so that we understand where we stand in some of those international commitments? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I wish it could come as part of the recommendations from the committee so that we can adopt it rather than a ruling from the Speaker. Thank you. Next item.
Item 5, responses by ministers to urgent questions. Item 5A.
Honourable Minister.
Right, Honourable Speaker and colleagues. The question was asked on adverse effects of prolonged electric power outages in Maogola South. And it has actually been on our agenda for a very long time. And the question was asked by Honorable Namuga Goreti, MP Maogola South. And the question was concern about the adverse effects of prolonged electric power outage in Maogola South, crippling several businesses amidst threats of security in the area. The Ministry of Energy.
Honourable Minister.
Yes.
Has the power situation been rectified? Has the power situation in Maogola been rectified?
Yes.
That is the only answer we need.
So the answer is the power outages in that area were actually sorted out way back on 29th September. And there is no more power outages in that area.
Thank you very much. Next item.
Item 5B.
Yes, supplement matter, yes.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. My name is Goreti Namuga, the area member of Parliament from Maogola County South, who asked the very question. Honourable Minister, I would like to inform you that much as you've informed the House that we have power in Maogola, actually, that's not the case. Right Honourable Speaker, by that time, we had spent 2 weeks without power.
Was it rectified?
It wasn't rectified because now it is 1 hour on, 8 hours off.
No, that's another
so
matter.
we cannot say that it is on because the effect of business is being interrupted. Right Honourable Speaker, we are talking about consistent provision of power connection. Umeme needs to explain to the people of Maogola why is power on and off. You have power for 1 hour, power off for 8 hours. Right Honourable Speaker, through you, is Umeme really powering Uganda or not?
No, really, honourable members. The question was, the question was, this place has suffered without power, and as a result, there was insecurity. And we asked the minister to deal with it. Was the matter dealt with? And the answer seems to be yes. The answer seems to be yes, except now that there's a new problem. It is on and off. That's a new matter. That's a new matter. It's now on and off, but it is there. So, Honourable Minister, is it by your operations that you give 1 hour and then you turn off?
Right, Honourable Speaker, that's a new question which we can go back to see how we can rectify it. That's a new question. Otherwise, it was rectified. The problem she raised was rectified. So I will investigate and then give her an answer.
Thank you very much.
Item 5B.
Honourable Minister.
Thank you so much, Right Honourable Speaker. At the 31st sitting of the first meeting of the first session of the 11th Parliament, held on Wednesday, 30th September 2021, Honorable Sirwanyi Solomon, MP Bukoli Central, requested for clarification on the questionable credentials of Power China International Group Limited, a road construction company for whom His Excellency the President directed the Executive Director, Uganda National Roads Authority, regarding a proposal for pre-financing of the Nabumali, Butaleja, Namutumba Road, Fort Poto Kijura, Katoke Road, Atiaka Chitigum, Luku Kalangara, Murabana Road, Tusiri Antonde Rakai, and Katunguru Ishasha roads, and need for adequate due diligence on the company by the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development and the Minister of Works and Transport. I wish to clarify as follows, Mr. Right Honorable Speaker, that we wrote to the Chief Representative of Power China International Group Limited on 15th July 2021 and informed them that we are still studying their proposal in view of the country's debt to GDP ratio status. My ministry and Uganda National Roads Authority have since finalized the analysis of all the proposals for contractor-facilitated financing or pre-financing of national roads, including the one from Power China International Group Limited, to ensure that they fit within the medium-term expenditure framework ceiling. Currently, we are in the process of inviting all the contractors who expressed interest to discuss their financing terms and understand their companies better beyond the information which they already submitted. Right Honorable Speaker, the Minister of Works and Transport and the Uganda National Roads Authority will undertake due diligence and signing of the project agreement if we agree with the pre-financing terms. I thank you so much.
Thank you. Honorable Salwani. Any supplementary question?
Yeah. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, when I raised here on 31st, I had about 4 questions about this company. One was I raised it here and told the whole House that this company had never done business of construction of roads anywhere or in any part of the world. And that's the clarification I was expecting from the minister. 2, does the company have capacity to do business of constructing over 400 kilometers when it has never done such business anywhere or has not shown us any experience? Then 3, the company that we are talking about was the same company that we gave here, and we gave a loan here. I remember, honorable members, in the 10th Parliament, if you remember the promissory notes, we gave that company, then they went and started on Luboa International Hospital, the specialized hospital. They did not do anything. So, Right Honorable Speaker, my clarification was, if the same company did not perform there, are they going to perform here? These are the questions that I had that I wanted the minister to respond and give us the factual answers, and then we can go ahead. I beg to submit.
The question then becomes whether the Minister of Finance is the proper housing for the answer. Whether the Minister of Finance would be the proper source of the answer to that question.
Actually, Right Honorable Speaker, most of my questions went to the Minister of Works, because even when they were giving the directive, the President wrote to the Minister of Works, and that's where the directive was given. So I think the Minister of Finance is supporting, but more so the question went to the Minister of Works.
No, I think as far as the issue of financial things are concerned, the Minister has done his bit. But the substance of the question remains undealt with, but should be dealt with by the sector responsible. That would be my guidance on this matter. Casilo?
Mr. Speaker, I think the Minister of Finance should have not been mean with the information, because those roads that were listed were regarding pre-financing, which appeared in the New Vision of last week. I know the Minister of Finance had a meeting with all those companies on the 14th. And they gave them a deadline of reporting back by 21st, whether they're agreeable to the terms that the government of Uganda, through Minister of Finance, has given. So I'd expected now the Minister of Finance to have given us what was the feedback, such that Honorable Solomon would be able to take up from there. Because I know all those companies that met the deputy, the deputy permanent secretary and the Minister of Finance did meet on the 14th, and all of them have submitted their responses by 21st. So what has come out of that company? Does it qualify?
But you see, honorable members, nobody answers questions that are not asked. That was not part of the question that was asked. Yes, that's not part of the question that was asked. I think we should save ourselves the over-focus on how we should deal with the questions asked and those we think ought to have been asked. We deal with the ones that were asked. So I think the way to deal with this is the substance of this matter is actually with the Ministry of Works. And something remains outstanding from the Ministry of Works. And the guidance here is that I see UNRWA, I see, so it's really Ministry of Works. So I think they should come back with the guidance on those 4 aspects. The clerk extract those 4 questions again and forward to the Ministry of Works so that they can come and deal with it. Next.
Item 5B2.
Honorable Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker.
Procedure, Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I see the Minister of Internal Affairs running out. I thought, Mr. Speaker, the issues that happened in the last 4 days.
Honorable Member, what have you just done?
I was saying on procedural matter.
You accessed the microphone and started speaking even without the speakers?
Sorry, sir. Because it's just because I saw the minister run away at that speed and given the matter concern, but I'm sorry, sir.
Would it not be better to say the Honorable Minister was walking out? I saw him, I didn't see him running though. Okay, I don't think the Minister is going anywhere. Yes, Honorable Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker, this is a response to a matter raised by Honorable Paparu Lilian, the Arua District Human Representative, on the poor management of the Uganda Revenue Authority operations involving the confiscation of border motorcycles with foreign number plates operating in West Nile that led to the shooting of some civilians. Right Honorable Speaker, on 5th September 2021, the PADER URA team, while in Arua on routine surveillance, encountered people with numberless motorcycles. While trying to impound them, a scuffle ensued, which led to a shooting incident where a one Anguni Filiam, 29 years old, from Yivu village, Yivu Nyo parish, Vura sub-county, Arua district, was injured. This incident was reported to police via SD REF 36/05/09/2021, and the matter is now under police investigation. Also, on 20th September 2021, the Arua URA enforcement team, while on a routine surveillance prompted by the rampant smuggling of fuel, cooking oil, rice, and numberless motorcycles in West Nile, intercepted 4 numberless motorcycles in Arivu, about 20 kilometers from Arua city. At some point, there was a big crowd protesting the operation, which culminated into some form of commotion. This prompted the enforcement team to evacuate the area, but in the process, the one Jurua Bosco, 20 years old, was killed, and the one Gertrude Afunia was injured in the arm. The injured was rushed to Arua Hospital for treatment. Right Honorable Speaker, the above two incidents are very regrettable, and we offer our condolences to the family of the deceased. What happened is not reflective of URA's standard operating procedures. The URA is cooperating with the police as they investigate these incidents, and we trust that any person found culpable will be handled in accordance with the law. Right Honorable Speaker, going forward, the following efforts are being pursued. Number one, that the URA is reviewing the circumstances that led to the above regrettable incidents so as to avoid a repeat of the same and ensure continued support and cooperation from all stakeholders, including the community and the leadership of West Nile. Number two, URA is reaching out to the families of the victims to extend possible support and seek reconciliation. To that end, URA has also taken the responsibility of ensuring that the injured lady and gentleman receive medical treatment. Number three, URA is in discussions with the business community and the Border Association in the West Nile region to come up with better and agreeable methods that can support the smooth payment of taxes due on the numberless motorcycles. Number four, URA will intensify its tax education and sensitization sessions via sub-county barazas and local councils to enhance the citizens' appreciation of URA's mandate and also foster citizens' contribution to the national development through tax compliance. I beg to submit, Right Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Paparo, you have any supplementary matter?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to thank the Minister for the response, and I pray that the action points will be implemented. My regret is only that the first feedback of what he got in the investigations, some are not true, because they are saying that there was a rowdy crowd and that is how the shooting happened. That is very unfortunate, and if the community would hear that, they would regret to hear such a statement, because this shooting was early morning when actually there were only very few people in the trading center, and just firing a machine gun at ordinary civilians in a local trading center was really regrettable. But we pray that these action points will be put to practice, because the situation is still not good, and I think URA in West Nile is not operating the way it is planned, because there are certain areas they cannot even reach to at this moment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next item. Procedure.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I rise on the procedural point. Right Honourable Speaker, concerning the foreign number plates in this country, my district borders South Sudan, and we have so many motorcycles that comes from South Sudan. And when it reaches Uganda, Right Honourable Speaker, to change the number plates to Uganda number plates is extremely very expensive. And the way URA is taking the border people who are crossing from South Sudan to Uganda is not all that good, Right Honourable Speaker. I'll rise on a read of procedure, Right Honourable Speaker. If it is procedure okay, you direct the Honourable Minister to instruct the URA so that the amount charged on the change of number plates in this country should be the same like someone changing the number plates from the foreign countries. Our people are getting a lot of problems in changing the number plates, especially when it comes from other countries, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Minister, would you like to add that on your action points? It's not technically a procedural matter, but it's a matter that requires action from your side.
Right Honourable Speaker, I think it is understandable. It's important that we look at the tax currently imposed on these.
And it should be a general review.
Yes, we shall review, we shall look at this matter and examine whether we should reduce on the amount of money that is involved to alleviate the problem.
Thank you very much. Next item.
Item 5B3.
Right Honourable Speaker, this matter relates to, is a matter that was raised by Honourable Kabanda David, MP Kasambia County, on the stalled construction of the Wenkunye Apart Ibuje Rira Road by Matrix Company Limited due to their inability to access the Ibuje rock for the requisite road construction materials. It's a matter that they put under Ministry of Finance, but which I thought should be responded to by Ministry of Works.
Right Honourable Speaker, in this matter, the Minister of Works, General Katumba, is holding a meeting with local leaders in Irira on 30th of this month to come up with a solution, and he requests that he reports after that meeting.
Thank you, because the way we understood this issue was that the rock from which the contractor should have extracted the material for working on the road had been blocked by one individual or a group of individuals, and therefore there was no access to it by the contractor. That was the only issue. It had nothing to do with the performance of the contractor or anything. So that means the communities and the leaders needed to come together and solve these matters, that access is granted to the contractor to access the rock and do materials, which they will not be getting for free, I'm sure. They will be paying for it. Thank you. Yes, Casilo, clarification from the Speaker. Procedure. Procedure.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I thank you very much for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I rise on the point of procedural issue. Following the events that caused a loss of lives on Saturday and yesterday, I was wondering whether it was not procedurally right before we adjourn today for the government, especially Minister of Security, Minister of Internal Affairs, to give a statement to the country regarding those events, because we don't know whether they're going to recur. We are seeing bloggers saying so many things. So I think information is very important, it's very key for the safety of Ugandans. So I thought government would give information, give guidance. We know, or we read only from the papers, that the president will give a statement on Thursday. But Mr. Speaker, the terrorists say we have the clock, for them they have the time. The time between today and Thursday, anything can happen. So Ugandans needs to be given information, guidance, such that we secure this country like they have always done. So, Honourable Speaker, that's the procedural matter I've raised here. That's why earlier on you saw me get up saying I saw the Minister of Internal Affairs running, though I would have used the right word, sneaking out. But if he's seeing on the screen, he should really be able to give the country some information. Right Honorable Speaker, I'll give to you, the Right Honorable Speaker, later in your chambers. But it's very important that the country is briefed on what has happened and what needs to be done. And we see, was it a problem of the gaps, in the security gaps, like the issue of Digida there, where they're saying the operation up to that hours, we know that there's curfew, because there are people who have been telling us that that place belongs to security officers and a police officer. There is a place in Intinda near my place, you find in the evening, it's guarded by a military pickup, so people, the police, which is even near a checkpoint, cannot stop people from partying. So these are some of the things we have asked the minister what is happening. In Rubaga, it's a similar situation. There's a place which is always, you find a pickup truck of police and the army parked outside, people are busy partying inside. So we needed this come out from the Minister of Internal Affairs and of Security. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much. Ordinarily, it would require no prompting. When there's a situation that requires the government to give confidence to people, it should be automatic without prompting. And I'm sure the responsible people are getting ready to do this. Or rather, I hope they are ready to do this. I see the Minister of Internal Affairs here. I see Her Excellency also here, the Vice President. So you might want to, but if you are not ready, you don't have to. But if you want to say something about this, please.
Right Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, members of Parliament, I'd actually come prepared, but I hadn't circulated the paper. So I don't know if it is in order for me to proceed and present or present tomorrow.
We'll proceed with it tomorrow.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much, honorable members. There being no further matter, House adjourned to tomorrow, 2 o'clock.
Pick of the day on UBC, brought to you by
how to get points. Just use MTN to make calls, send SMS,